yeah. Gotta love those
What's
surprise
going on, everybody?
photos.
Yeah, happy Tuesday, everyone. Thanks for that. Those
Hey,
photos.
Tuesday. Going on. Tacos and
Right.
turf, man. Where's Olee? Ole's down here. We only got
we got half the tacos and turf duo in here with David, right?
Your Lush tacos and turf.
You got your seltzer today, David?
I have it right here.
All right, man.
Getting thirsty.
Yeah. Well, welcome everyone to episode 14 of the Keep Off the Grass livecast. We got a good one today. We have Jim Spindler and Brandon Mitchell joining us from Ecologel. And today we're going to be talking all things fertilizers. So get your questions ready, get in the chat. We're really excited to chat with Jim and Brandon. And of course, the rest of the crew's here as well. And before we dive into it, first things are always first around here. So let's grab a glass and keep off the grass. Yes.
Keep off the grass.
Right into it tonight. No foreplay.
That was a good crack.
Well, speaking of the chat, I see we got some folks popping in here. We got the Super TA, it looks like. Who else is in there?
Oh, we got a lot
Lazy
of guys
Lawns,
here.
Papa Mo's Low.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Papa
Lawn
Mo's
radiance,
Low,
I see.
he won a
Yeah.
Petra Tools sprayer, and so he won to get on with us. He won the Brindley Hardley giveaway last week, and then he won Petra Tools, so he's becoming the new Homestead.
I was just saying, he's the new Homestead Lawns. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I haven't seen
Clean it
Homestead
up.
in a while.
Elevated
Yeah, he's in the
Landscapes
chat.
here.
He's here too.
Is he?
Homestead's in. Yep.
Yep, Homestead got in. Super
James
TA.
Cochran. See, now I got my daughter's tablet over on the side. I can actually see the live chat here. So.
There you go. A shout
Don't
out
tell
to
her.
Drunk Lawn Guy. He's my neighbor, so I got to give him the shout out that
nice.
he's coming in checking
He's-
us out.
He has some great stories.
Yeah, he does.
He said
Very
he
entertaining.
said he woke up one morning and called in sick just because he
His
drank too
drunk
much.
self.
So
Yeah.
he did it on purpose.
I've done that before.
Yeah, the booze flu. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Who
he does
else
some
had
good
snow today?
barbecuing too, so I can smell it from my house. Get a little tempted
Yeah.
there.
Well, we had snow today. It seems like
It's snowing right now.
Jeez,
Is it
you're
still
still
you
getting
guys? Our ground was dry by the time I got home from work, but the kids were out there playing. It was a wet, soppy mess. But
it. Yeah.
by the time I got home, it was all dried up. Granted, it's supposed to get cold again tonight, so we'll see. But yeah, crazy.
That's
April,
crazy.
Man.
Yeah,
don't know.
I got a few inches too.
That was
And you had
ridiculous.
some snow. Hey,
Yeah, talk about snow.
well, let's go ahead and get into it. We got, like I said, our special guests today, Brandon and Jim from Ecologel. Jim is the director of agronomy for Ecologel, one of the co-owners actually of the Ecologel company. And Brandon is he's turf culture. You may know him from YouTube, but he's on the show today because he actually helped with the go-to-market for the line of the BioPro fertilizers. So all of those small 1 gallon homeowner friendly jugs that are starting to come up. He helped Ecologel get that whole line started. So Jim, do you want to give a little bit of a background about your experiences and kind of what led you into the whole turf game?
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for having me on. It's quite an experience. I'm looking forward to it tonight. Yeah. I've been working with turf since, I was a little kid. I started mowing grass when I was 11 years old to make money. And I did that all through college and university. And I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in agronomy. And I always studied turf and farm crops and soils. But turf has always been part of my background, landscaping and things like that. Got a master's degree in forestry, but specialized in soil science. I did a lot of mine reclamation work in those days in Upper Michigan, working with grasses and other things to reestablish vegetation on mine lands. What was interesting, I left that to join the Peace Corps to work with farmers in the Kalahari Desert in Botswana. And so I didn't do so much with turf grass then, but it was 2.5 years. I met my wife. I was telling you the other night, I went to Africa to meet a girl from Wisconsin. We've been married 33 years now, so I guess it's worked out. I have 3 daughters and all that. And when I came back, you guys were all talking about Milorganite. I was their field agronomist and marketing director after coming home from Africa. I worked for them for a number of years. We were number 1 in the number 2 business, as we used to say. And then worked my way up from them to another company that made dryers to make more Milorganite type product. And then eventually ended up with Toro with their fertilizer division. They had formed in the early 90s. And that's where the BioPro product came from. It was designed for mainly golf and sports fields in some sort of prescription way. And I was one of their field agronomists and then one of their regional agronomists and marketing people. So, and eventually I ended up owning the product line. And then I joined together with Rick in 2008 with Hydretain and all that. So we joined Hydretain. I had the BioPro Cytogro, a pond bacteria we call Aqua Tea, and he had Hydretain and Gel Track and a product called Foreplay, which some of you may have heard about, and Fungus Shield. It's a barrier product for mold, mildew, and stuff like that on roofs and pavements and stuff. And so we came together, and here we are. It's been an interesting run. Met all sorts of people. Been on a lot of golf courses, sports fields over the years, and met a lot of big people in turf grass. Some of them that wrote many of the books we read now. I've gotten to know over the years.
Nice. Well, I was going to ask you with your experience in the Kalahari Desert if that's where you got the idea for Hydretain, but I guess that came from Rick.
That came from Rick. Yeah, that product came from Australia, where water is an issue there too. I don't know if you've heard the story where the original product was used for dust control on mine roads, so that mines were drawing all their ponds dry, and the country had eliminated oil-based dust suppressants. And the chemist who invented Hydretain invented a food grade, very environmentally safe dust suppression product that happened to work real well in helping with turf grass and flowers and other things. And once Rick got a hold of it, in 1991, I think he got the rights to it. And we've since reformulated a lot more since then over the last, almost 30 years to make it more concentrated and all that. And then about 8 years ago, we managed to figure out how to put it in a granular form. So we have the 2 granulars. And now we marry it with a lot of our BioPro. And Cytogro, you've heard of that. That's a product that's been really growing in the lawn care market. It used to be a purely turf and golf turf, a lot of greens and some sports turf, And we're proud that a lot of Super Bowls and a lot of your professional teams have had Hydretain and Cytogro on those fields.
Huh.
Pretty neat.
That's pretty interesting. Let's come back to that. I want to give Brandon a chance to kind of talk about how he's worked with you guys as well. Brandon, how have you you kind of focus a lot on the kind of the like I said, the go-to-market for the homeowner line and the homeowner side of the products. How have you worked with Ecologel?
Yeah. So I think, for myself and a lot of us kind of in our little niche here of advanced lawn care DIY types, I tried a lot of products and I was looking for something new, something different. Right. And so I spent some time researching different kind of liquid products as I become more interested in incorporating liquids into the program. And I found some of the BioPro products that were out there. But they were really hard to get your hands on as a homeowner because they're primarily used in the golf industry and the sports turf industry. And so you couldn't buy it in, a consumable package for, the DIY, like a 1 gallon or, a 32 ounce package. It was just something you couldn't get. So I reached out to Ecologel, just looking for distributors, right, to see if anyone near us had their products. And the next day, Jim Spindler calls me up. I'm driving I'm on a business trip, so this is pre-COVID, right? And so I'm driving to Indianapolis, and Jim calls me, and we start to talk, and he was shocked that a homeowner was calling him asking about their products and why I wanted to use it. And this was right around the time Hydretain really started to kind of take off with yard mastery. And so I kind of told him a little bit about, my background, this little subculture that there is with these homeowners that are almost like prosumers, right? And we're just looking for more. We're hungry. We're advancing kind of in our knowledge base. And it just kind of took off from there. So Jim and Rick kind of work with me on what are homeowners looking for in these types of products, what's reasonable as far as price, package sizing, freight, things like that. It just kind of took off from there. So I kind of helped get that off the ground. It's kind of cool, for me to kind of have my stamp on that. It's actually been really rewarding.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. I know that we all see the homeowners getting more and more advanced. So, we're all kind of taking the hobby right to the next level, and that's really what it is, right? It's a hobby for us, but it's a profession for so many. And Jim, you mentioned the connection of the products to the sports turf and golf course. So how are kind of the products that we're seeing now, how do they kind of relate to what's happening in those industries?
Well, they're the very products we sell. When Brandon called me, we've been selling these. We've got hot spots around the country, like in the Twin Cities and down here in Florida and throughout the country, that a lot of golf courses over the last 20 years have moved from a lot of slow release products that we used to do a lot of and to foliars. And that's like our Turfplex at 22.3. And so we've been using these products in sports turf, a lot of golf for years. My challenge with Brandon is we package it in such larger sizes that the homeowners, it was too big. And it gets too expensive to ship economically. So that's, Brandon was hot to get going, and we had to get registrations. If fertilizers have to be registered in every state except for I think Hawaii and Alaska, and then get packaging and labels and all that other stuff done. And it took probably 8 months to a year where we finally got it all together, and it was last summer. But the products you're using, the ones that Toro and a company called Liquid Ag that Toro bought, developed and have been very successful over the years. I worked to help expand that line, so we have some combination products, like you may be familiar with the Multi-Purpose Plus that took the Hydretain, Cytogro, wetting agent, and a nutrient package, 402 NPK, and then micronutrient package to go out on greens every 2 weeks. And they work very well through the heat of the summer, stopping dry spots, getting good color, getting good root growth. In cool season grasses, especially where roots tend to decline when you get into July and August, it helps maintain those with that kind of thing. And I was surprised that the homeowners you're spraying as often as some superintendents are. Every 2 weeks, some of you are. I was blown away a bit by that. Some golf.
A lot of us like to think we are superintendents, Jim.
Yeah.
Hey, of our own yards, right? That's right. What we, yeah. So I saw a question pop up in the chat too from who was it? Somebody asked about trees and shrubs, and you were talking a little bit about how that's kind of a big aspect of the business too. So he was asking about fertilizing and recommendations for how to take care of trees and shrubs.
Yeah, that's a fairly new area for us. About 3 years ago, we partnered with a company called ArborJet. They're known for environmentally sensitive injection of trees to control a lot of your very bad pests. The ash borer is one of them, a number of them. And fertility is another area where they're getting into. And I had developed a tree fertilizer, liquid tree fertilizer called Arborplex, that we now have turned around into quite a successful product in the last 2 years. We've got major tree companies now taking that and injecting it with root injection in a grid, and others are just doing a drench around the trees. And it's got 50% slow release nitrogen, so it lasts. And most guys don't want to treat their trees more than once, at the most twice a year. So we'll put this product together. They'll get it into the root zone. It'll slow feed throughout the season. And then we also will look at things like, is the color bad? So we'll add iron, or an iron manganese product. Is rooting an issue? That's where Cytogro would come in to help promote roots. We also have some sandy soils. Moisture management gets a problem, and so Hydretain could go in. So you sort of construct your own, if we would say, cocktail based on your local conditions and your needs. And we always recommend soil tests so that you know what your pHs are and what kind of nutrients you're probably going to need and stuff like that. So that's been the tree side, and that's growing pretty dramatically. On the flowers and things like that, I helped develop a product called Bloomplex. It's like a starter fertilizer, but with micronutrients and things like that. And that's going out every week or two, and we're getting phenomenal results with flowers and things like that. So yeah, Cytogro goes out in that, Hydretain. So it's quite a growing market for us. We've been mainly turf people, and now in the last 5 years are becoming greater in trees, shrubs, ornamentals, things like that.
Yeah, a growing market for a fertilizer company. No pun intended, right?
Yeah, there we go. We're feeding it all we can.
Right. Hey, Brian, you were finding some good questions in the chat. What are you seeing there?
Well, a couple guys. So Sean Eckert, he wants to know if there's been any EDU or university studies on Hydretain.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. If on our webpage, if you go to the research section, there's about 10 or 15. The most recent one is out of done on a golf course outside of Palm Desert or Palm Springs, California, where transitioning Bermuda out of overseed was treated with Hydretain and a bunch of other products out there. And this study is on our webpage. But what they did in the heat of the summer, you know how hot it gets in Palm Springs. It's 104, 105, up to 130 at times. And they cut their watering by 50% with Hydretain, and they managed to maintain decent looking Bermuda through that period. Right? Normally, they just reduce their watering about 30% during the summer because we don't have a lot of play. So we have that. We've got a study last year out of the University of Western Illinois that showed that Hydretain helps nutrient uptake too. That's been quite interesting. We're hope once COVID's over, we want to redo it again on drought conditions. So we've got a lot of universities on both turf, trees, and into agriculture. We're getting a lot of agriculture stuff coming in from overseas. We've got new distributors in India. I've got a guy in South Africa that's using it on golf as well as grapes. And some of the universities there are coming back. And what's really interesting is if you look at water use efficiency, the amount of water to put on so much biomass, so much plant material, the number of grams of water compared to control untreated is dramatic. You're talking 40, 50, 60% less water to grow the same amount of biomass. So there's lots of studies out there, and they're all on our webpage.
Nice. Well, to go along with that, also with watering, a couple guys were curious, what's the best way to know how much to dial back? I mean, so if I put Hydretain down, how much water basically am I going to stop? Like I'm only going to water once a week instead of more than that. What do I need to cut back on?
Well, that's a tough decision. We've got people, we say that we will save up to 50%. But then the problem with that is we don't know how efficient someone is. Like we go to a golf course, they're pretty dialed in with their irrigation systems and all. And we'll typically tell them, you're going to look at 25 to 35% reduction. And we've seen that pretty consistently, but many homeowners, they're way over watering. And 50% is not a problem at all. what we tell people to do is rather reducing the amount of irrigation each cycle, skip days, because Hydretain performs better at less frequent deep irrigations because it's working off that humidity, working itself out of the soil. And you might start, say, at 25% reduction and then evaluate it. And if it's doing good, then knock another 5% off until you get to a point where you want to be. And that could be 50%. But in some parts of the country, like we're looking at California now, they're at 50% reduction right off the bat. And maybe we're just saving turf. We're keeping it alive and what they can put out and really can't reduce it anymore. And we've done that in past years. So depending where you are in the country, if you're in a water reduction situation already, it means it may be keeping your turf alive till next season versus losing it.
Yeah, and Jim, you mentioned the Hydretain. I think there's kind of a misconception about how that works. Can you kind of describe how Hydretain works, especially on like a homeowner lawn?
Yeah, it's a product that it comes in a liquid or a granule, and what you want to do is apply it, water it in, and it needs to get into the root zone. And I tell people, we all got these cold drinks we're sipping on tonight, and you get this moisture, that condensation that forms on the outside of it. And that's what's happening in the soil with Hydretain. It's coating the roots, it's attaching to the clay particles, organic particles in the soil. And as humidity works itself out of the soil, it's grabbing it, condensing it before it leaves the soil and forms droplets so that the plant uses it as it needs it. And it keeps repeating that process for, we say, up to 90 days. It's a natural organic based product that is eventually broken down by microbes in the soil. So that's why we have to recharge it every 90 days, or we like tell golf courses and sports fields every 30 days, sort of we go on 9 ounces per thousand initially, and then 3 ounces per thousand every month. Granulars are a little bit harder because it only goes out at 2.7 pounds per thousand to get to the initial rate. And it might be a little bit more difficult to go out at the 1/3 rate, depending on how good your spreader is.
Yeah,
it sounded like
I'm glad you
I
said
cut
about the
somebody
90
off there.
days.
Go ahead, Bill. What's your question?
No, I was just going to say that was going to be one of the things I asked because, as a homeowner, how often would you need to apply it? So it sounds like 90 days, or really for me, that would pretty much last me probably through the majority of summertime if I wait till maybe June to put it down just to get me through those hot months. So I was going to ask that, but you got that for me already. So I appreciate that.
And when you get it out is often a question too, is you may, before the heat, so many people want to put it out when they get in trouble and their turf is declining. And we have lots of pictures of recovering turf, but if you can get it out before the heat and the drought hits, I used to live in Wisconsin, and we get it out in mid-June, no later than late June, and that usually will last you through the worst months, July, August, into September. But here in Florida, it's year-round, or in Texas, you might get a break in the winter, but you're probably going to have put out 3 applications. And it's something like, similar to Cytogro. The more frequently you can put it out, the better it's going to work. So putting out the initial application and get the active ingredient at a certain level in the soil is great. And then just adding every month a little recharger, you get a lot better performance, especially when you get out west where it gets really hot and your microbes are really chomping away at it. We've seen that in the desert of California, into Arizona, that more frequent light applications work better than trying to do one application every 90 days.
And that's why I love the multi-purpose so much, because I can supplement. Some of the products have Hydretain in it, right? Like the multi-purpose. So you can go out a little bit early and start supplementing before you do your full application. And then even if you get a little bit of heat that maybe going into the fall, right, lasts a bit longer, that's when the multi-purpose is really a good tool for that.
Yeah, that's how I designed it. If you put it out at 6 ounces every 2 weeks, you're putting out the maintenance rate of Hydretain and Cytogro. And so once you get your initial application out, you're maintaining it through the season.
Whenever you apply it with the hose-in sprayer, is that enough water to get it down where you want it?
No, if those of you who use that hose-in sprayer, you got to almost trot with it to get it to cover the right amount of area. So you've got to come back and reapply water to water it in. The key to it, a lot of people think you got to water it in first because it's going to burn, but it doesn't burn. It's, like I said, that the USDA's rated it at 93% bio-based. It's food grade stuff that's in our food and our cosmetics and things like that. But what happens is when it dries, it glues itself to a surface. And then it's doing its job. It's condensing the water. But if it's gluing onto the leaf blade and you remove it with the clippings, it's gone. If it's drying in the thatch, it's doing its thing, but there are no roots to get it. So that's why we say apply the Hydretain, water it in right away. And some people prefer the granular because you'll have up to 5 days to do that. The liquid, particularly out west where it's real hot, we say within an hour, water it in with a 1/4 inch up to a 1/2 inch of water, depending on your soil texture. In the Midwest and cooler areas, you may have 12 hours or to the evening if you run your irrigation at night.
All right. I got some of the granular and I want to try it on some like tomato plants. I want to try it in the garden, do some stuff in the garden with it.
It works great on tomatoes, peppers. I put it in my garden. I have drip irrigation in my garden. I inject it all the time. And I said, we're getting some great results in India on things from bananas to peppers to turmeric. You know, they're on all sorts of stuff. We've seen water reduction by half in grapes, also in Napa, and other places like that. So it's not just a turf product.
Can it be overdone? Can it be over applied?
No, not really. I've had guys put it out at 10 times its rate. I have this story years ago where I gave a golf course superintendent a quart to try, and it's supposed to cover, as you know, 3,500 square feet. And he gave it to a worker. He went out there and put the whole thing on 10 square feet of a bent grass green.
Oh, God.
Didn't burn. It was fine.
Hasn't been watered
since. Didn't have any dry spots.
It hasn't been watered since.
So, you certainly waste your money, but no, you can't overdo it. That's what's nice about it. It's a nice, safe product.
So to go along with that, there's Jacob. I haven't seen him before. Jacob Scrofe in the chat. He wants to know if when there's if you put it down when there's large amounts of rain, will it harm the soil? And is it important to do an even application, or is it okay just to sling it like he says he see people do?
She's just telling me about her teacher.
There's two separate questions. Watering it in is important, and there are situations where you can overwater it and push it past the root zone. The key is to get it in the root zone. And an example I have is that I had a golf course apply it on their fairways in North Carolina, and a tropical storm came in that day and dropped about 6 inches of rain. And they didn't see any results because it pushed it back. Or our golf course in Hilton Head was applying it and putting a 1/2 inch of water on top of it, but he only had poa annua. None of you guys have poa annua, do you?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, not intentionally. Yeah.
And you know how shallow those roots are. And so they were pushing it beyond. And once you put it out and watered it in with 1/10 of an inch of rain of water, it worked great. So knowing your root depth and things like that, you can overwater it, but generally that 1/10 to a 1/2 inch, depending if you've got shallow roots, deep roots, sandy soil versus heavy soils. What was the second question? Broadcast.
He wanted to know if people if you have to do an even application, or can you just sling it around on the
You're
lawn?
better off getting an even application. There are people that will take like the hose and sprayer, go over the entire area, and then they have some problem spots. They might come back and double treat. I ran into some guys in Tennessee who takes the hose and sprayer and does a 6 inch real heavy dose along the driveway and the curb because they heat up and burn back the sod every year. And those kind of spot treating hot areas that dry out quick. But generally, if you want your whole lawn to do well with less water, you should get it evenly distributed over the whole thing.
Got a question for you. So in tall fescue, you're saying apply it and then water 1/4 of an inch?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. What happens, like you watered in, you got 1/4 of an inch, you got it set. several days later, you get a downpour, 5-6 inches of rain. Does it still move?
Jesus, 5-6 inches.
That's that North Carolina weather.
That's a hurricane.
Jesus.
Possible.
Well, a week ago, I've got 3.5 inches in a couple hours here in my house, but generally it's locking itself up in the soil in about 24 hours, 36 hours. So once it's anchored itself in the soil, it's not going to move like with that.
So it's the initial water in that can push it past the roots.
Yeah, if you within that first hour, couple hours, you push it out with too much water, that's why I say up to a 1/2 inch of water, you got it in the root zone, and within 24 hours, and it's in there. And if you get a week later a gully washer, you're going to be still fine.
Good. That's good information. That's good to know as far as applying, and that way people can see results. So thank you.
Well, yeah, and with the liquids, where we find the most problems is people have miswatered it. They haven't watered it in right, or waited too long, or they've overwatered it. And that's usually when we focus in on first.
So the granular is a lot more forgiving.
It is.
Yeah,
it is a lot more, and that's where a lot of professional lawn care guys have gone that direction.
Like you say, the only hard part of that is putting 3 pounds of product per 1,000 square foot.
Yeah, right.
What's the active ingredient that makes it work?
We use the general terms hygroscopic humectants. A hygroscopic material is a material that condenses humidity. And if you're familiar with water-soluble fertilizers, if you've used them, if you leave them open in the summer, they cake up and turn to a brick because they're taking moisture out of the air. A lot of your fertilizers do that. So that's what a hygroscopic material is. And the humectant is what holds it. And said humectants are used in shampoos and skin moisturizers to keep your moisture in your skin and in your hair. So it condenses that humidity and then holds it lightly until the plant uses it. So, and you'll look at some long chemical names on the label, alpha hydroxy propionic acid, and it's got a 10% surfactant in it that helps it disperse evenly through the root zone too. A little bit of wetting agent.
Nice.
And I mean, you guys have the Cytogro product too, and that seems to be, it's a little different than an actual like fertilizer, but how are those cytokines kind of working in the plants too? That seems to be a popular biostimulant that people are always talking about.
Yeah, there's a number of hormones out there, but the cytokines often paired with auxins. There are some auxins in there, and they're hormones. Like we have hormones in our body that do things in our bodies, and that does the same thing in the plants. Cytokines and auxins tend to focus on greater rooting density, greater rooting depth, and things like that. And then the other big one is gibberellic acid, the gibberellins. And they are used more to promote top growth. They are used a lot in agriculture to promote flowering. So you get flowers for more fruits or vegetables, even though some farmers don't like that because it stresses too much pressure on the plant to produce. So those are the things. And when you get like a seaweed extract, you'll get all those hormones in there. And so you'll get that whole range of things. And one of the challenges with that is some people don't want to mow that often. And if you're putting a lot of gibberellic acids out, you're going to be promoting a lot of top growth. You can also, with certain grasses like Bermuda in the spring, you can promote a lot of seed head production, and that makes some people don't like that, especially golf courses. That's ugly. The other challenge is if you're using a plant growth regulator like Primo or some of these others, they're gibberellic acid blockers in the plant. So they're reducing the production of gibberellic acids in the plant so they don't grow so fast. And also happens to promote density and greater rooting. So if you're putting a product out there that has more gibberellic acids, you're counteracting what your Primo or your plant growth regulator is doing. And there's a study out of the USGA green section that looked at that with one product in particular, Astron from Florentine. I don't know if many of you have looked at that. It's pretty much not in the lawn care market. And that product with its gibberellic acids reduced Primo's effectiveness by about 50%. So I don't know how many of you guys use PGRs, but I'm seeing more and more YouTube guys talking about it.
I'm using it. Yeah. With that thought, though, generally probably not the same time I'm using Hydretain. If I'm being honest, I'm probably going to back off the PGRs going into summer for pre-stress, and then that's kind of when I'm going to be using Hydretain is, going into summer before we start getting into drought conditions. So they really won't overlap all that much.
Yeah. And that's what's nice about Cytogro. It doesn't have any gibberellic acids. We try to eliminate them all, and so they'll work very friendly with those PGRs.
And then how about people were asking too about kind of the break-even point of the cost savings of reducing the water versus the cost of the product. Have you guys kind of looked into that of what what those considerations kind of are?
Yeah, we've got some of that, more for the western part of the country. An example is a cemetery just south of Los Angeles who injects Hydretain through their irrigation system. And their goal was to reduce watering by 20%, which they did, and even more. When they shared with us their water bills, they ended up saving, I think in the first 8 months, they saved $80,000 in water. And of course, water's cheap in some places. Some people have free water through their own wells and things like that. So that's going to be the thing. So when you save $80,000, and that was over a 300% return on investment, that's a no-brainer to use Hydretain. There's a golf course in Texas who injected it through, and he had free water. But he reduced his watering. He documented it by 33%. He went from 1.3 million gallons a night to 800,000 gallons on his golf course. But then he showed that the electricity savings and pumping costs paid for the product itself. So it's going to be from place to place. Some places you take in the economics. So what if you don't use it and you're in a severe drought and you lose your turf and you got to replace it? What's the cost of replacing your turf and time, labor, and expenses? So this is the kind of economics, and it's going to vary around the country. In some places water's cheap, some places, during last year in the Carolinas, it rained so much you really didn't need it.
I had some to try last year and never got to try it because it wouldn't quit raining. So looks like I'll get to use it this year.
And lots of the country is looking that way. You look at the drought index. I don't know if you guys pay attention to that. The whole western third of the country is under severe drought already, and the northern part through the upper Great Lakes into even Maine. Now we're looking at already a beginning drought.
I've already got some localized dry spots that just popped up quickly. And this afternoon, I used some of the pellet y'all make with the CK. I think it's called, or CX.
Oh, C Extra?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a wetting agent pellet with essentially a Cytogro type material in it. Yeah.
I used that this evening, and that's one reason I was a little bit late. I was out there trying to help a few spots out and kill a couple coronas.
There you go. You have one of the applicators to help put those pellets out?
Yes, sir.
That's great.
And that is a wicked end. It's got the burgundy end on it. That thing is badass.
I was just
the adjustable shower head or whatever.
Yeah.
That thing's almost like a fire truck.
Well, Brandon helped test those things originally.
I got some good water pressure here. I got about 62 pounds and I think somewhere between 20 and 25 gallons a minute. And it does well. Matter of fact, I had my little girl out there and she was adjusting it and knocked her down, but she's only 21 months.
Okay.
You're the little lawn helper, all right?
Yeah, she's into everything.
That's what 21-month-olds do. They get into everything.
She's fast as lightning too, and quiet as a whisper.
Father-daughter project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's going to know a lot about fescue when she's probably in third grade.
So Andy, what I have a question. I think Andy chimed in there for a second. No,
I tell you what, Andy? let's all get together right quick and sing happy birthday to Andy.
That's right.
Put him on the big screen.
Call him out.
Yeah, I gotta get him on the big screen.
Put him on the big screen.
Maybe bring out the mariachi out here.
There you go.
Are you
29
again, Andy?
What's that?
You turning 29 again?
Yeah, 29 again.
29 again.
To feel like you're 29. Oh man.
And
So
38
long
years
ago.
old. I'm out of breath after a long sentence.
Just don't talk while you're pushing the mower.
I don't. I can't do both.
Oh man, have we had any other questions sort of pop up in the chat? This is a good opportunity
we did.
for people to ask.
Jim and Brandon, what are your two favorite BioPro products?
I think I'll let Brandon answer that one first.
Okay. Yeah. So my two favorite, I think I already mentioned it a little bit earlier, is the multi-purpose. My multi-purpose plus, I really like that product because it does have the Cytogro, the wetting agent, and the Hydretain in the bottle, and it's got a little bit of NPK. It's a 402 with a small little push of micros I use for spoon feeding in the summer. And then my second favorite is probably the Turf Plex, the 22.3. I think that one's been getting a lot of exposure lately. Those are probably my two favorites. And the Turf Plex actually has the C Extra in it as well. So it's a little bit of extra bang for your buck in the bottle. That's what I like about it.
Nice.
Now, is that a backpack applied product or is that a hose in?
You can do either one. I've been using a backpack for a long time. I've been trying the Kalo Pro app, which Jim and Rick sent me one to kind of test out, and I'm going to be putting a review out on that pretty soon here. But I like using it through the hose end or a backpack. Doesn't matter. You can do either way.
You know, if I can make a suggestion, it does better, I think, through a backpack because it's designed as a foliar fertilizer to be absorbed through the leaves initially. So if you put it out with too much water and you push it into the ground, you'll do that fine, but you'll get a better color response and all going out with a little bit less water. We suggest
so it can be applied low volume.
What's the ratio again?
You can apply it low volume.
Yeah. You can go out at a gallon per thousand, even a half gallon per thousand, spray it on there. And then by the time it dries, the leaves have absorbed most of those nutrients. And the next time you water, the rest of the residual goes in and the roots take it up. So when you're using foliars, Cytogro is the same way. You get more out of them, a quicker response when you treat them as a foliar and you leave them on the leaves rather than putting up with a lot of volume of water. Something with slow release, you can put out with a higher volume of water. We typically say go out like 2 gallons plus a 1,000 of water when you get a slow release, like our Greens Plus or the Arborplex.
Yeah, see, I've got a permagreen that I do most of my stuff with, and it's a low volume machine. I think it does 32 ounces to the 1,000. Basically 12 gallons to the acre. So certain things, it's good for certain things, but other things where you need a bit more carrier, it's not ideal. So, and I'm just wondering if it needed carrier or not.
Yeah, the Turfplex needs less, so you leave it on the leaf. And some of your pesticides are like that too. You want to just leave it on the leaf. Some of your fungicides and your contact insecticides.
Yeah.
So what are your favorites, Jim? That was the second part of the question.
Well, I'm always using Hydretain and Cytogro, but lately my oldest daughter helped me put in my garden again this year. I've sort of gotten back into that, and I'm using a lot of Bloomplex. I'm injecting it through my drip, and I've got both an in-ground garden. I've got pots with tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers and things like that. And I'm feeding them almost every week with Bloomplex. On the lawn, it's whatever I have, Greens Plus. Yeah, I have a Bermuda, St. Augustine. I got Bahia grass. I got a big yard with a lot of different stuff. So,
my man.
Yeah. So,
hey, so what's your lawn look like, Jim?
I'm like the cobbler's kids who have holy shoes. I've got grass. It's there and all that, but I just don't have time. I want to, when I was traveling a lot, I just was on an airplane almost every Monday. I'm also a Catholic deacon, so I'm live at church on the weekends. I'm preaching and baptizing and things like that. So that takes a lot of my weekends away. I tend to go with what's easiest, a slow release fertilizer like Greens Plus or Arborplex. That's what I've been putting on my lawn, so it can go a little bit and I don't have to get out in the lawn quite so often.
I think that might be the mark of somebody that's in the turf industry, is that their own lawn doesn't usually look the best.
Yeah, it's like the cobbler's kids, the doctor's kids. They're eating the worst food, and
the painter's house is the last to be painted, sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm guilty.
What's the best way? I've got some localized dry spots.
Right.
And they look pretty, they all of a sudden jumped up, look pretty rough. So a couple of them this weekend I treated with the hose in Hydretain, hit them localized dry spots. And then I ran the irrigation and, helped water that in. They've jumped back phenomenal. Now other spots are not irrigated, on out away. I've got 132,000 square feet of turf. So it's a lot of ground to cover. So, and it's not all irrigated. So like the other spot, like I hit tonight with the pellet gun, what's your suggestions on bringing it back? What's the best way to get her jump right back?
Well, is the turf just dormant or is it gone?
I don't think it's gone yet. I mean, I don't think it's gone yet, but it has got a black haze. You can see it as it starts happening. And I can't believe out of all the rain we've had that all of a sudden, and that's what gets me a lot of times. Like you were saying before, you want the Hydretain applied before you have a problem. You don't want to wait till you got a problem. So, and
that can, it can really be a problem if you have sandy soils.
I got low CECs. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the problem we have, that like here in Florida, we're all sand. And when you take it down to a certain dryness, it gets hydrophobic and it won't wet no matter how much rain you get. And that's where those pellets help get that water in there, gets the C Extra helps promote those roots back in. And then also the Hydretain will help since it has that 10% surfactant. But sometimes it's so dry, you need that more higher concentrate wetting agent. Once you got it in there, I did the same thing 2 weekends ago when I saw these big rains coming. Mine was pretty parched. I went out with the C Extra pellet and hit all my grass. So I made sure that water got in there when it rained. And that grass is really perked up, my Bermuda and my St. Augustine. And so that you're on the right track, especially in sandy soils. Get that hydrophobic conditions conquered, get some water in there, and then get some Hydretain in there to keep it from drying out again.
I got one spot that I'm just going to do some testing with. I actually took and drilled some holes in the ground, and I'm going to get some of the granular and see about putting it over that area and see how that works. See if it gets in them holes, and that way it'll get both the compost side of that product and the wetting agents or whatever.
And that compost has a little bit of nutrients in it too.
Mm-hmm.
The plants always tend to like that organic matter, a little bit of nutrients.
Yes, sir.
But and I think we got a little bit of a giveaway to do tonight too. Ecologel was nice enough to throw in a couple products, so we're going to do 2 giveaways, and we got one hose end sprayer we got one Cytogro, one little quart of Cytogro, and one jug of the Bloomplex fertilizer that Jim was talking about. So we got, so in the chat, if you're still hanging out with us, we appreciate it. So go ahead and what should we have them enter? Brian, you seem to like to do these giveaways. What should we have them enter in the chat?
Keep it wet.
Yeah, sure. Do that one. That's a good one. Keep it wet.
Type in moist.
Oh, there you go. Let's do moist. One word. It's easier for people to type. Type in moist.
So go ahead and type in moist in the chat, and then we'll go.
Say
do
that
it.
without smiling.
Moist.
That's a pedophile right there.
So go ahead and enter, and we'll get the wheel of names going here in a couple minutes after maybe one or two more questions, and we'll do 2 giveaways tonight.
We'll accept moist and keep it wet.
Like that. I just see keep it wet and moist.
Oh God.
We're gonna get flagged by YouTube, I think, here.
Oh no, we got a long way to go.
Any other questions pop up in the chat before all the moist comments?
So where, if you wanted to buy some of this stuff, some of the, like the Arborplex, I was curious about that after watching Sean's little video and up in my game with my trees and shrubs. Where can you find some of your products if you wanted to? I mean, is it on Amazon? Do you Home Depot? Where would we look? Do you guys just sell it on your own website? Just curious.
Well, it's on the Ecologel website, but Yard Mastery, I believe, has most of this.
Okay.
Brandon, you might be able to help me better.
Yeah,
they have Arborplex on Yard Mastery.
Ecologel. There's the Ecologel store, and then also Yard Mastery has the pretty much apples to apples on the catalog for all those products. So wherever it's easiest for you to go, and you want to buy some of those products, that's where you would do it.
And speaking of the big, the big box stores, someone mentioned that they found some bio advanced kind of wetting product, like almost like a Hydretain moisture manager. And I know what is Lesco or somebody else makes a moisture manager product.
Yeah,
so how
the Site One moisture manager, the Lesco moisture manager, that we private label Hydretain for them.
Okay.
Yeah, and so you can go to Site One, and they have a lot of the BioPro products too. The other product I am not at liberty to but
so Site One sells them as well.
Yeah, they have a Hydretain is called it's called Moisture Manager. They do have Cytogro or C Extra wherever you go. Arborplex is on Yard Mastery. I just brought it up. Bloomplex, BioMP. We have a molasses fertilizer that is on their BioMP. So on a humate product, 22%. That EnviroPlex, that's on Yard Mastery. So I know that's a real popular thing, humates. So you get a 22% instead of a 12. So a lot of
you said
stuff
you said you had a fertilizer for trees?
Yes, it's called Arborplex.
Okay. Because what I've got is a bunch of green giant Lethusias.
Same.
And what's crazy, they were all planted at the same time. They were all probably, 10 inches tall. And I planted those in 2015. I've got some of them now that's probably, they've got to be 13, 14 feet tall. And then other ones are lucky to be 4 foot tall. And I'd like to start maybe giving them some special treatment, some love or something. And I don't know. I don't understand how in the world they can all be in the same property, straighten a line and do that.
Well, all I can say is maybe stick a soil probe in, see what the soil looks a little bit different in there. But yeah, the Arborplex is a nice product. You make up a solution and drench it around the under the drip line. Mm-hmm. That would work well. I can provide, we have a little, we call it Arbor RX. It's a sort of prescription pad that will give you, based on the diameter of the tree, how much solution to put out. And I can share that with someone like Brandon. He can get it out to you guys. Or
I have it. You sent it to me. I can just send it to everyone to our group here.
That's right. I sent it to you yesterday or the day before, didn't I?
That's right. Yes.
Olee, I saw how you drilled those holes in that bucket. That was pretty
like
good
the
idea.
ODP Turf Super Soaker?
I like that.
Well, I didn't want to stand there and hold the water hose. And
I'm gonna use that.
And if you do that, then it's got enough slow release to sink down in there instead of running across the top. So
yeah, you don't need a drip system when you do that.
Yeah,
No.
the DIY drip system, right?
That's the ODP Turf Super 5000 elite model.
Soon to be on sale, right?
$399.99.
That's free information. No affiliated links, no product codes.
So no Lawngenuity 10?
No, sir. Don't get you nothing.
Yeah, if you want the discount, just go get your buckets at Harbor Freight instead of Home Depot. There's your
No,
discount.
you go to Firehouse, get Old Pickle bucket.
Oh, there nice. Nice. Get the extra vinegar and
They
stuff.
smell good
too,
for
right?
a while too.
Right.
That one actually was a 5-gallon Rotella jug that was really clean.
From your favorite restaurant?
No, that was Rotella. Not Nutella, Rotella.
Yeah, I was about to say, was that Nutella?
No, Rotella. 1540.
All right. Well, let's do these giveaways. What do you think? I think we got all the moist comments out of the way for.
Yeah. All right. So we're just gonna use the same one here. So let me share my screen. Let me close all this out so you guys can't see. All right. All right. So we've got 20 names. That's a pretty good turnout there. 20 people interested in getting these giveaways. So I'll just spin one. What was the first one for?
Let's do that Cytogro first. A quart, the small little 32-ounce jug of Cytogro. But
all right,
that's like a season's worth of product. Yeah.
Whoever wins, I'll remove their name and then we'll do the next one. All right, so shuffle. It's what, 420 today. So let's just do 4. Shuffle 1, 2, 3, 4. Go full screen.
Olee,
right.
get that music. Get that music, Olee.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg.
All right.
It was perfect time.
All right, Jay Harris.
Jay Harris.
When's the first one? So
and then this is for the gallon jug of the Bloomplex fertilizer.
All right, here we go.
Nope.
All right, I'm on training.
Nice.
There you go. So the two winners, you can message me on Instagram, and I'll get your contact info and get it over to Ecologel to claim your prizes.
We'll mail them out.
Yeah. All right, boys. Well, any other questions? It was a good episode. It seems like we got some good info about some Hydretain and some of the other products you guys have. Any other questions?
I got a quick one. That's what she said. But hey, that blue applicator y'all got, what's the deal with that? The hose in blue applicator. It's not the pellet gun. It's
a pro app. That's what Brandon's going to do a review on. It's you can fill it. It holds up to a liter of fertilizer.
Mm-hmm.
It's used professionally by a lot of lawn care guys and some spot treating on golf courses. It has quite a shower head on it. And on the side, there's a dial that goes from 0 to 10 that adjusts the suction rate, the dilution rate.
So it's like a ortho on steroids.
Yeah.
It'll last you years. I've got one that's probably 8 or 10 years old.
I've been seeing those in some pictures, and wondering who made it, and then seen it on y'all's website about, I don't know, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's got a big aluminum frame, right?
Sorry?
It has the big aluminum frame on it, the big heavy duty.
No, it's a plastic hose end sprayer. It's blue with I think it's a black head and then a white bowl or bottle that holds the fertilizer chemical. It's on the Ecologel website. Lawn Mastery or Yard Mastery is not carrying our equipment, so the pellet and the Pro applicator are on our website.
Yeah, I'm gonna get me one of those setups. Those are nice.
Yeah, I've been on a mission for the last year to find something to replace the Ortho and the Chameleon with, because if you've ever used those, some people love them, they swear by them, right? I'm not one of those people. I hate both of them. So I've been on a mission to find something to replace it with. And that's when we started messing with the Pro app, because I know golf courses use those things religiously for biostimulant applications, localized dry spots on golf greens. And so far I love it. It works great. They're not cheap, I will say that. But to me, if I was going to buy something, I would definitely go for the Pro app.
My chameleon lasted about 3 days before it went into the garbage.
Yeah, mine lasted 10 minutes. So you did better than me.
Dave told me to pull that filter out, and I did. It did nothing. It was
we should have them on as a guest sometime.
Oh,
soon.
that would be bad.
You just fill up the comments with people complaining about the jar falling off and the hose connection snapping and all that stuff.
Yeah, and getting 3 feet of spray out of it, and it's bad. Jim, I got a question for you.
Okay.
In my backyard, it slopes down to the side, and that is the lowest spot of my neighborhood. So up top in my yard, we'll get nice and dry and just cook the grass over the summer. And down in the corner, it'll dry out. But when it rains, it just holds water like crazy, and it just turns into a swamp. Would I just make that situation worse by spraying Hydretain on that? So what I'm asking is, should I stay up instead of spraying the entire downside where it holds water when it does rain? Would I just make that worse?
No, I get that question a lot because people think of Hydretain like a polymer that absorbs moisture and holds it. The Hydretain doesn't do anything to hold existing moisture like in that situation any longer. It goes dormant. It doesn't do anything until air enters the soil. So when that lower part of that slope starts drying out, then the Hydretain does its thing, but it won't keep that water there any longer. That's one of the concerns we've had with a lot of professionals is if you hold water too long, you'll promote things like Pythium root rot, other things like that.
Okay,
and we've
good
never
enough.
seen
Thank
that
you.
Hydretain.
Okay, thank you.
It's a good question.
Pythium root rot's a bad deal. We had so much rain last year, I got to experience that.
Same here. It's not fun.
Took out everything that was less than a year old. It just wiped it out.
And it can take it out in a matter of days.
Oh,
Once
man.
you get going,
Yeah. It started
like wildfire. Yeah.
It started turning. And I was like, what is going on? Because the places that started turning, checking out, I know it wasn't brown patch, but it started dying in perfect squares and perfect areas that I had fixed. And it was the younger grass, the younger turf that was less than a year old. Boom. It was like you went out there with Roundup and just painted the squares that I'd fixed perfect. I mean, it was gone. So
that's crazy.
Learning something every day.
Right.
That's why you don't want to overwater. Lithium loves lots of real damp soils.
Yes, sir.
Well, thanks to Jim and Brandon for coming on the episode and chatting with us. And
yes, thank you. Guys. We appreciate
really
it.
good questions, especially from the chat. So thanks for answering and sharing your knowledge with us. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And
thanks for inviting me.
Everybody, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and join the Keep Off the Grass on Instagram and all our other YouTubes and all that good stuff. And Dave, what were you going to say there, David?
Where can we find Jim at? Where can we find the company? For our audience looking into the product again. Social media, whatever you have.
Yeah, you can find us on Hydretain has its own Instagram and webpage, hydretain.com. Ecologel, if you want me to spell it, it's ECOLOGEL.com. And all the BioPro stuff is there. And if you want to reach me, it's Jim@ecologel.com. So
and you go get all kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's brave.
Yeah.
Moist.
Is that Cody?
No, it was me.
Channeling Cody. Yeah.
Cody had to sit out after last week having 6 tall boys of Busch Light.
Yeah.
He's still feeling it.
Was that his decision or his wife's decision, do you think?
He got put in timeout.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, guys. Good one.
All right, boys.
All right. We'll
Thank
see
you, everyone, for coming
Good
out.
night.
Thanks, everybody.